Welcome to day 9 of the Rich Method. Today we are going to dive into numbers, pricing specifically. And this is an entire skill set, one that most people do not learn, practice, or master. And it's why most of their programs are empty, their calendars are empty, and they actually aren't doing the work that they love to do. So we're going to change that today. And we're going to make this really, really simple. So most people, they have a lot of charged energy around what they charge. And so this whole thing with numbers and money and pricing, I would say there probably isn't anything that gets more people out of whack than money. Money has this way of getting people all sorts of sideways. And what I can tell you, and you probably are realizing this if you've been going through this series, if you watched the previous videos, I can be very neutral with money because of how I was raised, how I've lived my life. Money isn't charged for me. And this is not true for a lot of people, as well as this ability to just look at things objectively when we're looking at our own business and our own offers and what we charge people and what people pay us. It does not stay objective. It gets highly emotional, highly charged, volatile, chaotic. And here's the worst part about that is when you are wanting people to move toward you, you're in all of this mess. Now, this not only makes us the least magnetic and desirable, but what it does is that it is sending the wrong message. It's telling people, I'm not really ready for you to come into my world, when you actually are. You've created the program, you've organized the retreat, whatever it is, but because of money and pricing, it's giving the impression that you don't have the table set, that the room isn't ready for them. So if I can give you one thing right off the bat is that when you look at your pricing, when you look at money, make sure that you get yourself in a good spot between pricing and then talking about what you do. You want to make sure that you are moving from that good, solid, connected to all that is place. So let's talk about what pricing isn't. Whatever price you put on your work, it is not a reflection of who you are or what you bring to the table or your value. It's none of those things. Now, I'm going to tell you right out the gate, having an online business has a few challenges that are unique to people who are so sucked into their brick and mortar that they don't have time to even see what's flying through the internet. Okay, so I'm always on the internet and I love to people watch, and I see some crazy claims and comments and statements and beliefs about money and pricing, as you can imagine. I'm sure you see the same thing. So the one that really popped out for me today was recently I saw a coach say, if you have payment plans in your business, you're devaluing yourself. You're not holding yourself in a high enough energy frequency. What I can't remember the exact word, but that was the gist of it. Fascinating. I saw another one say, if you have anything less than like a 50K offer, and if you tolerate anything other than a pay in full, like you need to work on yourself. Okay, so here's the full story. And this is part of the problem in the online world. You don't know the full story. Well, I happen to know this particular person. Was online with her back in the day when she was a struggling, broke, spiritual entrepreneur who had plenty of offers from, low ticket to free to payment plans to all the above. Now, if somebody is 5, 10, 15, 20 years into the game, what they forget to say is, now, at this point in my business, the reason why I only have a $50,000 offer and I only do pay in full is because of this, and this. Because I've been in the game so long, and because I have a waiting list, and because I have so many people moving toward me, and because I'm raising 4 kids, or because I'm doing this and my husband is doing that, this is why I choose to arrange my offers, my pricing, and my business the way I do. You rarely get the backstory, and you rarely see where they started. So all of this information is really important. And this is why, clients will come to me and they're like, well, Sally Sue said on the internet that, I got to value myself and da 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 da. Here's the thing: be careful about listening to every Sally Sue on the internet, especially when you don't get the full story. Okay. And when you have an online business, you have to get really good at putting the blinders on, and you have to get really good at discerning, and you have to be able to come back here to yourself, to your business, to what you want to create, how you want to work, how much money you want to make, who you want to work with, the lifestyle and schedule you want. Because everyone's opinion is just that. It's their opinion, and they arrive there through a series of events, but you can't just swallow that and take it. Even what I share today, you've got to run it through your own lens. It's not possible to be really successful in business without putting your thinking cap on, without connecting to all that is, without being honest with yourself, and without you have to be the leader of yourself and your business. This is why most people struggle in entrepreneurship. They're like, who's going to tell me what to do? Nobody. Who's going to tell me I can take a break and a week off? And who's going to tell me that this is okay? You got to do that for yourself. No one's passing out glowing reviews and gold stars and promotions and bonuses. You got to give that to yourself. So make sure that you take everything I say today and then you run it by your own test yourself and go, does this work for me? I said in a post on social media that when clients hire me, particularly for private work, it's normal for them in the beginning, typically the first 1 to 3 months, to go, Monique, what should I do? Monique, how much should I charge? Monique, what should I do? And I can tell them what to do. Telling people what to do isn't a problem for me. However, if people end up working with me, especially privately, it's not their first rodeo. They're not a muggle. They're not a novice. They're not dumb. They know what they need to do. They know the number. They know what's pulling them. But it's normal for them to hire me and go, but what do you think? And part of my work across the board in all the programs is to go, I'll tell you what to do. And if I don't lead you back to yourself, I've done you a disservice. Oh, Monique, don't lead me back to myself. I don't want to trust myself. I don't want to listen to myself. Just tell me what to do. And we will tell people, just tell me what to do when something is not our strength, and or when we don't want to slow down, calm down, and listen to what we already know and feel. Now, I used to really resent when clients would do this to me, because I used to throw it right back. Well, what do you think? Tell me what you think. I want to know what you think. And we used to do this whole little thing. Well, that's why I hired you. If you hired me so that I could tell you every move to make, we're in trouble, because that is not the point. The point is becoming the person who knows how to lead themselves through all of these different skill sets in business and all these different scenarios and personality types and everything that could possibly come up. But this is what I realized, is that I stopped resisting it, and I just took the bait. I said, okay, you know what? We're going to play this game. Because this is what I observed, is when I just told them the price or the move or the next message, then right then, when my words hit their ears, they knew what they really wanted to do. So it created this opportunity for them to go, yeah, I don't want to say that. I don't want to charge that amount. Actually, that's not what I want to do. So then they could feel and sense, I do know what I want to do. And because you just gave me that feedback. In pricing, it's going to be similar. So I'm going to give you lots of things to consider today, but at the end of the day, you're running this show. So let's dive in here. How do I approach pricing and how do I take my private clients through this? When do I raise the prices? When do you know the pricing is working for you? Let's cover all of that. So in real estate, my dad's a realtor. Derek and I were actually realtors when we first got married. In real estate, this is what you'll hear over and over again. When somebody asks, what's my house worth? A good realtor will tell you what someone is willing to pay for it. A house is not worth what it's worth to you personally. It's not worth what it's worth in sentimental value. It's not worth what you poured into it. Oh, well, I redid the kitchen and we put in a pool and, we redid the flooring. That's good. And it's kind of irrelevant because at the end of the day, the real answer, the real question is, what is someone willing to pay for it? I like to use this principle in business as well when I'm pricing offers. People can get all up in their feelings. They can look around and go, well, I know I'm better than her, and I've been doing this longer than her, and she's charging this amount, so I'm going to charge that amount. They can go all sorts of places, right? Oh, I finally stepped into my power, and I know what I'm worth, so this is going to be my price. They're forgetting one big and important component, their client. So what is the market willing to pay for a house? And then my question to you is, what is the client willing to pay for your services, your experience, your retreat, your products, whatever it is? Now, right here, I've got to pause you and we're going to kind of reference going all the way back to day one when we think like Whole Foods. What client or what market are you focused on catering to? So if you say, oh no, Monique, you don't understand. My product can help everyone with a pulse, anyone with skin, anyone who's over 40. Yeah. Okay. So don't do that. I highly recommend you don't do that. So I'm going to give you a real life example of how I think about this. And I'm going to actually use previous me. So when we were a local business, completely offline, and I would go to networking events and I was putting together our offers and I said, okay, so I know that the boomers don't get the internet. They're afraid of the internet and they're not going to go on the internet without guidance. They're going to miss out on all these things. And so if I post for them on social media and if we write their email, because this god awful newsletter thing that they're sending is not going to do it. If we help them with these components and we drive more people into their front door, they're going to love that. And it's going to be a dramatic difference because they're not doing it at all. But they are already on the way. They are already established, making money and have clientele, but they're just not utilizing this particular stream or this particular highway of getting more people in. Now, I could have stopped there. I could have said I help all boomers who hate tech and want to get more clients or more customers in their front door through social media. But that is still a big group of people because that's like all of them. And they are a big generation, right? Instead, I thought about who are the people who charge the most and make the most within this group. Now, I love realtors. Realtors are a great market. They're incredibly competitive, driven, and crazy. They always are looking for an edge. They make a lot of money, can make a lot off of one sale, one client, one transaction. Paying me, no big deal. Dentists, those dentists, they're like, right? Why anyone would go into the medical field and do anything except for dentistry is beyond me. Those are the people who make all the money, have the least amount of stress. They create their own schedule, right? Dentists make a ton of money. Attorneys, they might not be fun to be around, but those mother suckers be making the money, okay? And because they lack people and social skills and people avoid them, I knew I could help with that. I could actually sort of bring in a side that they couldn't naturally do. Another group of people I love, insurance agents. They make a lot of money. They're driven. They're salespeople. They're crazy, right? They're just go-getters. Plastic surgeons, anything, anybody who has a business that's trying to get women to feel bad about themselves and, do something about it, they can make a ton of money, right? Women throw their money at them. These are the people who make the most within that group. So then there's groups within the group. So this became my market. People who had multiple locations. These people got systems, they got processes, they've got proven success over and over. Restaurant owners who have like very fancy pants, high-end restaurants, they're good and they always want more people in the door. So I began to identify within that group who has the most money, who makes the most money, who would most appreciate an edge and an added strategy. And so instead of it making them feel overwhelmed, they would be like, yeah, let's go. I know nobody else in my office is doing this. I know nobody else in town is doing this, right? So I know the mindset and the mentality, the way they think, that's a good fit for me. Paying me, no matter what amount I set, is not a big deal for these people. So if you haven't drilled down and identified who is my market, and do they want this, already trying to get this, and have plenty of money to spend on this? This is the part that I don't know how so many people miss this, but like if they don't have plenty of money to spend on this, that piece right there, everything else becomes hard. Like this is the part you can't get wrong because you could have everything else right. But if you're going to put this offer in front of people who don't have money to spend on it, we got a problem. Don't put your offers in front of people who do not have the money to invest in it. And it doesn't feel like yeah, of course I'd invest in that. So you have to identify your market. If you are not in the business world or helping people make more money and you have any other type of offer, I'll just go ahead and give you a pro tip. If you position yourself to entrepreneurs, to people who have their own business, that's your best bet. Now, on the other hand, some of the worst people you can put yourself in front of are moms, stay-at-home moms. They'll spend $300 on Sally's Easter dress. They won't spend any money on themselves. They're most likely not going to get a personal trainer, most likely not going to write their book, most likely not going to spend $5,000 on a retreat. They are in a role where that doesn't make sense and they prioritize their spending differently. They have a different mindset. Now, a business owner will invest in a personal trainer because they've figured out them being at the top of their game is very much related and correlates to their health. They'll invest in a retreat. They'll invest in a lot of different things, and also they're used to investing. So if you look at people's patterns, habits, and behaviors, if they're not used to spending money on themselves or investing into themselves and them being their best self, they're probably not going to start with you. Yeah. When I was doing books like full on, this is what I found as well. Entrepreneurs, they'll drop $30,000 on a book. Yeah. And they're going to speak on stage and they're going to be on podcasts and they're going to use this book as a lead magnet all day long. Who was not willing to spend even $10,000 on a book? People who just had like a great story to tell, but they didn't have like a plan for the book. It was just going to sit on Amazon and rot. People who they couldn't use it as a tool that's part of a bigger system or a process, right? So there was a big difference when I would, and became one of my qualifying questions before I got on a call with someone is, why are you writing this book? If they said I'm writing it because it's just always been a dream of mine, they ain't gonna pay. I'm writing this because I want to give people who've never worked with me a way to see what my expertise is, and I want to use it as a tool to get on more stages, they're going to pay. Now, if I would have wanted to focus on people who didn't have a business for some reason, I would have focused on people who were like the Real Housewives of Orange County, where ego is a big driver. Now, some might watch this and not like this at all, but part of being successful is understanding how human beings operate, understanding human nature. If you're going to have your best life on this planet, you got to know how it works. Let's not be dumb bunnies, okay? So when people are ego driven, even if it's not going to quote unquote further their career or serve a practical purpose, if it's going to be an ego booster or can become the topic of conversation or something they brag about at the next golf tournament, if it can be a thing that they say when they're on their husband's arm, right? Then it'll do it. We had a few clients who did not have a business who spent 30,000 or more with us on their book. And it was absolutely 100% an ego project. If you don't have one of these components, is somebody going to go dig 10, 20, $30,000 out of their bank account, their savings account, just to tell their family story? No, probably not. Is this making sense? So it's really about knowing the market, drilling down who is the best person to go put your offer in front of, and then getting to the pricing. Because we have to keep this in mind, right? The general public, the more you make your offer perfect for the general public, the harder it's going to be. People think, but Monique, I want to be able to help more people. And if more people could buy it, I'll sell more. It doesn't usually work that way. Because it's just hard for people to go, this is specifically for me. It's just like kind of vague for everybody. So the exact process I went through for pricing, it has been different for every division of our business that we've had. It was different. The first name that we had for our business back in the local days was On Top Internet Marketing. And then then I had my private coaching, and then we had the publishing division and Network Like the Rich. We had all these different divisions. And so every time we crack open a new division of our business, a new set of services, I take myself through a process, because this is the other thing that can get a little tricky. Is if I would have started Network Like the Rich and I would have just been like, well, I'll price it like I did on the publishing, it wouldn't have worked. So it's about stopping and pausing and going through the process every single time. And I even recommend doing this with every single offer. It's the slow down, calm down, listen. So since 2019, everything we did was high end. The cheapest thing we had was $1,000, and actually as of like 2021, our 1,000 had went to 3,000. So the cheapest thing that people could really do in our world was $3,000, basically 3,000 to 30 plus, depending on how personalized and customized it was. So when I got the idea for Network Like the Rich, I went back to the field and I was like, okay, what should the offers be like? What should the pricing be like? I was getting ideas of how I could maybe create a simple way to teach people actually how to network, because although people network all the time, they don't know how to network. This gets confirmed to me every time I network. Showing up and networking is not the thing. Showing up and knowing how to network, that's the thing. So I thought I could teach people how to network, and then I could give them a place to practice networking with other people who know how to network, because that's a different experience. So these were the two things that were kind of swirling in my mind. This was the start. So it was a 12-day networking challenge and Rich Mixer. So I'm in the field and it was just like, okay, so what should I charge for this 12-day networking challenge? And I immediately heard $33. And I was like, hold on. I think you forget, like, there's missing zeros here. Like, you know, I, someone forgot to tell me to smoke something this morning, right? Like, let's get real, people. So you're aware of what I used to do, right? You're aware of my pricing at Alma Publishing. Yeah. Okay, so let's try that again. So what should my pricing be for the 12-day networking challenge? And they said you're not going to do anything like you did in that division. Okay. Okay. And then I immediately heard you're going to do low ticket. Oh, for God's sake. Low ticket. Okay. But here's the problem. We have low ticket and network like the rich. Those don't seem to go together. I thought network like the rich meant high ticket, high end, highest level of, well, Monique, that's what you get for thinking, right? So I said, okay. So I was not really happy that day. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I was kind of bummed out. I'm like, oh, $33. Okay, so how many people will it take for that to add up? Like, my boys can eat $33 of sushi in 5 minutes. Okay. And I want you all to know, like, there, we have to get extremely practical in our business. The people who just like float in the clouds and like, oh, just like somehow this all works out. No, get extremely practical. And when you're talking to whoever you talk to, you have your own consulting team, be practical with them, right? And just so you know, too, your angels, guides, and ancestors know you live on a planet where you need money to pay bills. So also the people who are like, just offer it for free and let the universe provide. Well, yeah, actually, this is how the universe provides, Beck. Okay. So I actually left the field right then and there. I was kind of like pissed off. Oh, this was not a fun session. Thanks for that input. So I went inside and I was like, I'm going to go drown myself in a scone or something. So I moved on. And I thought, I'm just going to run this by Derek. Derek is kind of like this, I don't know. He's this great sounding board. He always confirms whatever, right? So I was like, do you think like if I did like a 12-day networking challenge and it'd be similar to this, that, and the other, that it would be crazy to charge like $33 for it? And it is very nonchalant, cool as a cucumber. I'm a Buddha on this earth. He's just like, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, that sounds good. I was like, no, that's the wrong answer. God, I'm getting outnumbered here, right? So I'm like, okay. So I needed about 24, 48 hours to let this all soak in. So I go back to the field. Let's try this again. I've got to check the mic. Hello, check in 1, 2. Let's try this again. I think I had a bad connection the other day. Okay, so when it comes to pricing, what did you have to say about that? Yeah, $33. Okay. So I I had never done low ticket. I like scanned my brain then and I just scanned my brain now because I just have to double check myself. I had never done low ticket ever. When we first started our business, we were extremely high ticket. People had to commit for a year or more. So I said, I never done the low ticket game. I mean, other than I already don't like it, like explain this to me. Like, how does this work? How does this add up? Like I see other people doing it, but I've never had conversations with them like, hey, Lisa, how are you making any money when you got a $7 thing and then I don't see what else you got going on? I just had never had those conversations because whatever we're doing, we tend to be with people who are doing a similar thing. So most people in my world, they were doing a similar thing. And I just heard, Monique, this is how it needs to be. So you're going to do it for the $33. And then we're going to go from there. So they said, what you can do, this might help you out, is you think about like what this is worth. Because I had actually taught this 12-day networking challenge. It had a different name. I don't remember what it was now, but I had taught it maybe in 2015. It was one of the first things I did when I came online. I taught it. And I think I was brand new online. And I think that I had charged, I don't know, $120 for it or something. So I'm like, we're going backwards here. This doesn't make any freaking sense. Like I have more experience than I did back then. I've helped more people with this than back then. But this is what I heard is think about what this is worth to people. What is it worth? Where do you value it? And you take that number and you're going to put that number as here. Okay, so this is like the regular price. And then you're going to sell it for 33 for a certain period of time. And then after a certain number of people buy it, you're going to take it up and you're just going to inch it up. Not like 33 to 99 to 299. Nope. You're going to go 33 and then maybe 43 and then maybe 53. Very small increments up. I said, okay. So I can't remember how many I heard that I needed to sell before I raised the price, but I think it was like at least 30 people. But if I could also, at 30 people, if I was in momentum and it was just like, no, just keep posting, keep promoting, then I could feel that momentum and then maybe set a date out. So it's like, okay, 30 people have got in, but I'm getting a lot of traction. I have a lot of messages coming in. So I don't want to just cut it off right now because it just feels like, why would I cut the stream off? So I would give myself maybe like 7, 10 more days to run with that momentum. And then so then I could say at such and such date that was 7 to 10 days out, you know, I'm wrapping it up, right? And then the next time I run it, the price will go to 43, some sort of communication like this. And the original price, the regular price is this. Now I don't remember what that number was. It's probably on my Google sheet somewhere that Derek makes for me, so I know what my prices are, but still I don't know what my prices are. So I had like the regular price, I had my buy it right now price. And then if you don't buy it right now, you'll be able to buy it later, but it'll be a little bit more price, but this is the original price. Okay, so I had never, I'll be honest with you, I'd never really used pricing psychology. But I would say this is the first time like I go, oh, okay, I get it. People can see like this is the regular price. This is what I'm offering it to you because my guides say I have to. I didn't say that part. And then I'm going to inch it up, right? I'm going to do intake. So one of the problems with a lot of offers is that people go, well, people can buy my offer anytime. I go, yeah, don't do that. Don't say that. Because here's the thing with human nature and the way human beings behave is if I can do it later, I'll do it later. I love later. So even though you could have bought and you still can buy 12-day networking challenge anytime you want, I open and close it. I promote it and shut it down. And when I shut it down, I take it back to that original price, the regular price. And the reason I do that is because no one in their right mind is going to pay whatever I said, like $700 for it when they can get it for 33. But I do that because I don't want you to buy it right now because I'm going to open it and close it. I want to be in charge of the promotion periods. I want to be able to take people through, and I'm going to tell you why I do this and what I do in between. So it's about understanding how do you communicate in a way where you're setting the tone. How many of you have had messages where people go, I'd love to do that thing. I'm going to do it later. And you're like, right? So I don't have anyone telling me they're going to do it later because it's going to cost them to do it later. They're like, I don't know how I'm gonna, I got to figure out how to do it right now because I already know what's going to happen. Yeah. So we do train our audience in the way that we promote and the way that we price. We train people to delay and to wait when they can join at any time, when they can get this price anytime, when there's no rewards or consequences for when they make a decision. You're training them to always choose later, and later literally never happens. So I sold 30 spots in. Actually, I sold 50 spots in that initial one. And I actually I got into it, right? I let go of my nonsense, got over myself, and I was having a lot of fun selling this thing at 33. And so I actually decided not to raise the price, and I let I think it was almost 70 come in at $33 because in this promotion period, I got the idea I'm about to share with you. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to let it ride. I'm going to let all these people in. I created a date for the cutoff because I'd already surpassed the number I wanted in. I had to get at least 30 in to validate the offer. And we're going to talk about what that means. Most people never validate their offer. So I had far surpassed my 30. I got almost 70, I want to say 67, 70, something like this. And the idea I got was I'm going to take them through this and then I'm going to, see what they got out of it. I'll be able to get testimonials and then I'll personally invite them into something else at a rate that they can only get for a short period of time. So this is a private offer only. It won't ever be public. So I was like, oh, I'll have like 70 people to do this with. This is also steps that nobody does. People buy from them, they don't connect with them, they don't get testimonials, they don't get feedback, they don't hear what happened, what didn't happen, what do you want next, where are you growing, what feels like is an important thing next. Here's what I recommend. I want to personally invite you into this thing now, and for the next 3 days, I'll give it to you at 50% off. This whole thing is what creates the connection and also keeps people moving through our offers if it serves them and what they want. Obviously, if it doesn't, then no recommendation or personal invitation is given. Like, oh, Monique, it was amazing. That's exactly what I needed. Okay, do you need a place to practice this? No, I'm good for now. I am already networking locally. Cool. Carry on with your business. So here's where most people get it wrong. They do things in a hypothetical scenario in their office, in their notebook, in their own freaking world. So I will see people who will decide when their price goes up before they take any action, before the market responds to them and gives them any feedback. I'm going to offer this for the next 3 days at this price, and then I'm going to raise the price. Well, you don't know how many people are going to move toward you. Here's the thing is if people aren't moving toward you, being in business isn't that much fun. It's not that exciting. You're not doing any work. You're not doing the thing you love. You're not doing the thing you're good at. You're not making a contribution and you're not making any money. Across the board, this is a no fun situation. So what I would recommend that you do is that before you start creating all your next steps, that you put the offer out there. You follow what I said in day 2, right? That you run your mouth all day, everywhere you can about this offer that you have, because you don't want to get through a promotion period and be like, well, I only posted it 4 times on a profile that has 122 friends, because that's not good data. Then it could be like, well, you just didn't put it in front of enough people. So what I would do is put the offer out in front of everyone, everywhere, other people's groups, my group, my personal profile, my email list, wherever I can. If you say I don't have some of those, it's okay. Just literally put it out to as many people, put it in front of as many people as you can, and then see how they respond. Make sure you're talking about why they should care and what they get as a result of paying you. And this isn't 2 calls and 4 PDFs, because they could give a rip about however many calls or PDFs. What is this going to change in my life, business, relationships, health, yada, yada. And then you're going to observe people's behavior. So if you've been promoting for 7 days and no one's bought and no one's sending you messages, no one's doing anything, it's like, hello, that's what it feels like. You're going to keep going. If at 14 days and 21 days, no one's bought, no one's moving towards you, no one's commenting, no one's sharing and going, guys, you got to see this. This is amazing. If you get to 30 days, if you get to 45 days, you're going live, you're doing this, you're doing everything that you can do, then you're not going to raise your price because nobody came through the door. Then we have to go back and go, okay, how'd you create this offer? Did you create this in your own world by yourself, or did other people tell you? Is this addressing exactly what other people all over the internet are saying that they want, and need. So if you receive the guidance on it and you haven't yet figured out how to translate to the human beings, then what you can do is this. So even though my offer took off and I sold all those spots in 12-day networking challenge, I still went back to the internet because I wanted to make sure I had this totally dialed in. Maybe I could refine it. So I would ask in all these groups, what's your favorite thing about networking? What's the most frustrating thing about networking? Do you get referrals when you network? How long have you networked and not got the number of referrals you want? Like, I just asked question after question after question. And then also I was asking questions from the people who bought it. Because I wanted to make sure when I talked about the next thing and the next thing that I was completely with their language and their perspective and their motivation, why they would pay for this. These are steps most people don't take. So if you feel like you have an idea and you have an offer, but you want to make sure that you don't go out there and talk for 21, 30, or 45 days into the void and hear only yourself talking, here's a couple things you can do before you launch it. Is you can say, what was your favorite thing about being in a collaboration book? If you could write a story about such and such topic, would you? You could just ask question after question after question. You could also create a wait list before you even promote it, maybe even before it's fully created. I'm putting together a group of 20 people, just whatever number comes to you, and we're going to do this together. And by the end, you'll have this. Do you want to be the first to know about it when I release it? There's all kinds of things that you can do in advance. And if you don't have a lot of success of launching or promoting and getting yeses, do those things. You can hold hot seats. Remember I talked about hot seats or round tables? I can't remember which day. Do those things. The reason most people get their offers and their pricing wrong is because they're not in any communication with the people who are about to buy from them. Don't do that. Entrepreneurs who create and maintain a distance from the people that are going to pay them, they have the hardest time. You need to shorten that distance. Like, you need to get them all up in your business and all in your ear about their words, answering your questions in a conversation about this thing that you're going to offer, this problem you're going to solve, this opportunity you're going to create. I have sold so many things and I still wanted this. If you're going out for your first rodeo or your fifth or the first one in this new direction, make sure you do this. So you can create this sort of pricing thing of like, this is what I know it's worth. This is what I would want to be paid for it. This is where I'm going to offer it for right now. And then these are the increments I'm going to go to. I'm going to open it and close it. And then I'm going to be in conversation to make sure I'm using the right words and I actually have this like 100% dialed in. But I'm not going to raise my price if I don't have people moving toward me. If people aren't moving toward me and they're knocking on my door, if I'm not like full, like for example, when I launched my mastermind, I offered a private call to everyone who joined. So I knew I was going to have to do these onboarding calls and private calls because I wanted to actually know who this person was. It's going to be so much harder for me to help them in the group sessions and the calls if I don't have a backstory and a foundation of their business model, their human design, their personality, what they're after, where they're stuck at. I needed to have those calls. But I also knew I can only have so many calls on my calendar. So I sold, I don't remember now, like 20 or 22 spots. And then I stopped promoting the mastermind because I needed to do those onboarding calls. And then when I did those onboarding calls and I had more space in my calendar, then I went back to promoting the mastermind and I did the onboarding calls. So with whatever the offer is, you also have to think about how do you execute it? How do you actually do this with your clients? And then you can space your promotions accordingly. If you don't have people banging your door down, and if you don't actually have to stop promoting it to give yourself the space to take really good care of your clients or to go through the initial process, then you shouldn't be raising your prices. People either, there's a few things that could be wrong. You haven't chosen the right market, right? You're trying to sell Whole Foods to people who shop at the dollar store. So the market's wrong. It's not clear what they get. If you at any point have someone in Messenger or comments or conversation, they're like, I like you, like I love your content, but I just don't know what I actually get, then you have to go back through your sales pages and your promotion posts and tell them what they get. And it has to be insanely specific. So, for example, a client recently said, well, I help people view their money differently. Okay. I like the idea of viewing my money differently. Am I going to pay $5,000 for it? No. How? What specifically? So instead of behaving like your mother around money, instead of spending a ton of money and then feeling guilty and then panicking that you don't have enough money and then going out and operating from fear to make more money and then overspending, like that is something that's like a specific pattern someone could see themselves in rather than I'll help you change the way you see money. Or you literally will not spend money on anything because you're afraid that you won't have enough, even though you already have enough. And what I'm going to show you and what I'm going to help you with is that type of thinking and behavior, this pattern, is going to prevent you from making your money work for you and multiply for you. Because if you won't let go of any of it, you'll never invest any in the stock market or in real estate or in whatever. So it gets more specific. So then you're going to identify most people. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you the first place that you could go is start having conversations. But Monique, with who? Anyone who will have a conversation with you. You need to find 10 to 20 people who you literally say, Tammy, I know we've been in this group together or we have whatever affiliation. Listen, would you read through my offer, my sales page, and would you answer 3 questions for me? It'll take you about 12 minutes to do so. Would you be willing to do that for me? And the questions you're going to ask her, and you're going to say, please don't lie to me because it ain't going to do me any good. Do you know what you get when you pay me? Does it feel worth it? Does the value actually seem way more than what you are paying? What's not clear? What's vague? You could ask people who you network with to do this. You could ask people who are in your Facebook group to do this. You could ask people who've bought from you before to do this. You could go in a big group and ask 10 people to do it for you. You've got to get some sort of dialogue, right? You can host lives, you can host, right? You can all of these different things. The first place I go when something is off is I go have conversations with living, breathing human beings. Because I can go tweak the offer and tweak the wording on my own, but they're going to give me something that's much more accurate. So you can have these different points in the pricing where you value it, where you're selling it, this ability to increase it. You're going to need to promote it publicly to see how the market responds. Now, if you're promoting and someone who is not in the market that you were focused on responds, then go reread your post and make sure it's written for the market. This happened. This happened when I launched Power Moves. So I announced it initially for the people who had commented on that post. Can't remember what day I told this story. So they were the first people who got it. And then I also invited my mastermind members into it immediately. But the very first public post I did after these pre-sale things, the first public post I did about Power Moves, 2 women immediately jumped in my inbox and they were like, oh my gosh, I want to do this. Give me the details. And so I dropped the details the way I normally drop the details, like, this is what you get. This is how much it is. Here's the link. And then immediately they both came back and chewed me out. Oh, like long messages. I can't believe you're charging for this. How dare you? I'm just starting out my business and I don't have that. And I went, oh my God. I went and talked to Dollar Tree and I'm supposed to be talking to Whole Foods. So I go back to my post and I read it really slowly. And I go, oh my gosh, I see. There was like 2 words, maybe 1 phrase where I gave people who didn't have a business, who had never told their story, who were beginners, I dipped in this one spot to them and then I popped back up. And those 2 people were in that dip. And it made no sense for it. It didn't make any sense for them to invest in it. And this is why the market is so important, because there's certain people it makes perfect sense for them to invest in what you have. It will get them where they want to go and it's worth every penny. In fact, it's costing them money right now to not figure this out. But there's certain people it makes 0 sense for them to invest in your thing. It makes 0 sense for them to hire a personal trainer, write a book, or learn how to network like the rich. There's no payoff for them in where they're at, the stage that they're at. The people who make business hard is somewhere in this. They're talking to people who it makes no sense for them to buy the thing, and people who have no money to buy the thing. That's going to be frustrating for everybody involved. So I corrected the post and then boom, immediately sold it to someone for the regular price. I'm telling you, this gets proven to me over and over again. So how do you approach your pricing? If this is your first rodeo or your first offer in this new direction, or you're in a new division of your business, and so you're not necessarily just building something else in your offer suite, and I'll talk about that in a second, this is what I would do. I would make it a no-brainer entry point price where people don't have to know you, like you, or trust you. They just need to know what they're getting when they pay you. Anywhere from 9, 12, 21, 33. I would say 47 is what some people define as a no-brainer. Some people might say 97, but I have seen people throw out a $97 offer and not get a single person to buy. You want to make it easy with one clear outcome. Actually, the fewer promises you make, the easier it sells. When I've said, in this, you're going to learn how to introduce yourself at a networking event, like that's it, boom, sells. If I'm like, this and that and the other, have one clear promise, one clear win that they're going to get. Make it stupid simple, because you need people to come through your door. You need people to move toward you. And then once you have whatever number of people, depending on how you've worked this, is this a digital product? Is it a group thing? Is it private work? So the number is going to change depending on how it's delivered, right? So if I have a digital course, I can make my number 30, 50, or 100. Once I have 30, 50, or 100 people come through my door, then I can make my next decision. If it's group coaching, you could decide, I don't know, how many people do you want in the group? Do you have 5? Do you have 8? Do you have 12? Do you have 20? If it's one-on-one, then you might say, once I have 3 people in the door, but I wouldn't make one-on-one my first thing, right? So we just stick with that simple no-brainer entry point. You've got to have people moving toward you because you need real data. If you are adding another offer to an already established and successful offer suite, then what I like to do, I just went through this process. I'm getting ready to announce something next Wednesday. So I've got a new offer. And so I went through this process. This is what I did, is I looked at, is there any expenses in this offer? If so, take those into consideration. If you have no expenses, cool. I looked at how many people I want in this offer, because it's not an entry point offer. How many people do I want in this offer that gives the best experience? There's a certain number necessary, but also can't be too big. Okay, this many. What am I providing? What do they get at the end? What do they walk away with? What is that worth to them? What is it worth to me? Now, I asked myself one other question. And this is more for this established funnel and established clientele, but just one more offer. I asked myself, if I sold this offer the day that I announce it at this price, would I be excited and happy, or would I be resentful and regretting I did that price? And then I sit with it for 3 days, and I see if there's anything that's not sitting well with me before I then put it on the website and take it to market. Now, there's a component here that I haven't talked about, and that is going to be necessary for some people, and actually can be pulled out at a variety of points in your business. And that's doing what you do for free, or providing your digital course to a certain number of people for free in exchange for feedback and testimonials. This is an important component for a lot of business owners, and a lot of people skip it. There's ways that you can do this. Like there's certain people who need to be excluded from this opportunity. People who, funny enough, the people who you want to give your stuff away to are to people who could definitely afford it. They don't need you to give it away, but you're giving it away because you value them and their input, and they're very well connected. They have a network, and their network has money. Their network is your Whole Foods buyer. Those are the people I give my stuff to in exchange for specific things, in exchange for feedback, a testimonial, a side-by-side live talking about my work. If you handpick the best people to say, hey, go through this experience for me and tell me this, that, and the other, and then you take it out and you ask them for referrals and connections and introductions, and you get to use their words, this can skyrocket your next launch, your next promotion. So instead of looking at what you're worth, look at what the market, and make sure you pick a good market, is willing to pay for it. And if you're not sure what they're willing to pay for it, put it at a stupid, simple price, a no-brainer price, preferably $47 or less, at an entry point offer that doesn't take a lot of your time to deliver, and see how they respond. Now, if you go, well, Monique, my work is very in-depth and it's very this, that, and the other, then what you could do is you could take a tiny slice of it and you could put it out in this way and see how the market responds. And make sure that you have a normal price, because this is really what it's worth, And this is what I'm going to offer it to you at. I told a private client recently that, when I was in the field and I was in that wrestling match the first day, and I didn't really like the idea of low ticket, there was something that came to me. And everybody's going to be in a different place. Just because I did this model doesn't mean you have to do this model. You might do a tester teaser, or you might give it to a few people, and then you might go all high end. Like, there's no right or wrong. It's just what's right for you. I mean, I have clients who are like taking care of aging parents and 4 kids. And so they really can just take 4 clients at 10, 20, and $30,000 packages. That's all their life will allow for. That's fine. Other people, they have a membership and there's 300 people in it. And so they charge whatever, $9 a month. There's no right or wrong, but you've got to look at yourself, your life, your business. You've got to listen to what you're hearing, what you're sensing. So when I was in the field, I guess it was, their way of helping me get on board with this whole low ticket thing, is I heard, Monique, there's just a lot of people right now who they go to the grocery store, or they get their home insurance bill, or how much it's going to cost to send their kids to soccer camp. And they're like, holy freaking cow, right? Like, I'll walk into the grocery store to get my kids a snack, and it's like $72, and I'm looking around like, what did we buy? You guys are carrying what we bought in your hands. Like, what the frick? There's a lot of people who are experiencing this, like, wow, prices are just continually going up, and everything feels expensive, and nothing feels like a deal, and nothing feels like, wow, I felt lucky to get that. So you're going to be that person right now. Will you be that person? Will you get over yourself? And will you just be the thing where it's like, okay, this is worth every penny. This feels really valuable. This feels like, okay, I'm getting away with something. Because right now people just need that relief. This is why it's so important that you listen to yourself, and also you take your life and your lifestyle and your calendar and your schedule into consideration. You can charge anything you want for anything. I can buy a paper clip at Walmart that's like 3 cents, and I can get a Tiffany's paper clip that's like whatever, $350. The real thing is this, is that are people willing to pay for it? Do you present yourself in a way where they're willing to pay for it? Do you communicate it in a way that they understand the value of what they get? And that thing that they get is insanely more valuable than what you're charging for it. That's why people say yes. And most people don't keep that in mind. If me being in better health means I'm not paying doctors, and means I'm not taking days off in my business, and means I'm not this way with my family, and I can take on more clients, and I know that that's worth like $100,000 to me, but I'm going to pay this health practitioner $3,000. She's definitely worth it, because I can see the gap between what it's saving me, what it's costing me, and what I'm paying her. Anything can be sold at any price. It just depends on what you're willing to do. I'll tell you what most people are unwilling to do. They're unwilling to show up. They're unwilling to learn communication in a way that we know what's in it for me. Unwilling to have conversations, and unwilling to demonstrate expertise prior to payment. If you have been promoting a lot and you're not getting a lot of people moving towards you, you haven't demonstrated your expertise. You're not having enough conversations. You're not speaking plain English, and they have no idea what they get, and they definitely can't see like, wow, this is definitely worth it. And figure out which one of these. You might have to address all of them. One of the misnomers with business online is this: business is like very simple and straightforward, but that doesn't mean it's easy. Because it's very simple to know, like, I eat healthy, I go to bed at a certain time that makes sense, I sleep well, I move my body. That's simple. Being healthy is simple. It's not easy. Being successful in business is very similar. And online, we look around and we go, this should be easy. Like there's people who make all kinds of money. You can make insane money online, right? This lady I knew from way back in the day, she just had a $20 million month, right? 1 month. This little mama of two. But here's where it's a mindset people fall into is, oh, well, it should be easy. There shouldn't, that before it's easy, there's some legwork. I told Lex that I would be in 50 to 75 DM conversations every day, and I did that for 1 solid year. It's what led to over 1,200 authors. Now, how many people have been in 50 to 75 DM conversations every single day for a year? Not that many. How many people have went live over 1,000 times? Not that many. There is work involved. And work isn't the enemy. Applying ourselves wholeheartedly is not a bad thing. Working hard is not a bad thing, because you've got to identify what is going on and you've got to get yourself in motion. You got to be in the marketplace. And then you can refine it so it's easier and smarter and more efficient. But most people, they don't have enough data. They're asking hypothetical questions in a hypothetical business with a theory that means nothing. So go put a price on something, go promote it, go see how people respond, and then take the actions that I talked about today. You got to get in the marketplace. When you list your house, if you don't list your house and if you don't put that price on it and see how the market responds, you don't know. If you're like, well, I'm going to figure that out, get this perfect price, you just got to get in motion. But if people are not moving toward you, and if people aren't referring you and making introductions for you, if people aren't paying you, you've got to fix it. Don't raise your prices because other people charge more or because other people told you to raise prices just because I promoted it for this many days, so the price went up. Raise your prices when the market tells you this is insanely good. We want it. We know what we're getting. And you actually need to raise the price to make more space to actually buy yourself time. I raise my prices when I need to buy myself time. Okay. I think that's all I have to say about that. You know your prices are working when people talk about you online and they go, she could be charging way more for this. You've got to buy this. You know your prices are working when you like your calendar, you like your work hours, you like your lifestyle. Pricing and money can bring up a lot of things. Go through this process when you're not charged, when you're not emotional, when you're not internally volatile. When you say your prices out loud, and it sounds no different than if you're like vanilla or chocolate, if your voice goes up, if your heart starts beating, if your palms get sweaty, you're not at peace with your own pricing. You're trying on somebody else's thing, you're wearing someone else's shoes. When I do my pricing, the last thing I do before I take it to market is I say, my power moves is $999 to participate in. And by the end of it, you'll know how to talk about yourself so other people talk about you online. And there's nothing I feel. There's no excitement. There's no panic. There's no woo. There's no there's just say it out loud 10 times, 20 times. Notice how you feel. Notice how your voice responds, how your body reacts. If you are not calm and centered and grounded when you talk about your thing out loud to yourself, by yourself, do not put it in front of people. adjust until that feels good. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll be back tomorrow. Go look at your pricing, go talk to people, take it to the market. That's what you got to do.